bad blood between me and you for no reason. He said, okay, and then he moved, but he didn't want to sit beside the table. He sat next to me. Even if he knows that this mic goes different. And that was on this mic side. Very strange.
And this is why my philosophy is maybe it's
if I'm not good too.
No. The two things work together. Right?
It's so simple. Like we both have to set up. And anyway, for your commenting, it really doesn't matter if you sit here or over there.
No, as long as my vision is not
absolutely has nothing to do with your job.
Yeah.
For me, it's a big thing if I'm not making it right.
For you, it's paramount. It's the most important thing.
So if you just pretend you have, like, you don't have feeling for it, or you don't have a clue, it's just, you know. And that guy wasn't actually 18 years old. He was experienced coming in. So, but I understand he wasn't in a really good health, and not in a good mood. I understand all that. Everything is fine. You could be nasty a little bit, but we have to produce good job.
Yeah.
How are we going to do it?
And at the end of the day, it's not like, you know, I know it's not Champions League final that we're shooting here or anything, but it's still worth doing right, but also it's not, by the same token, one, it's worth doing right. On the other hand, it's also not something that we really need to.
And how do you feel like necessary to come in here and feel that you can be prepared?
Yeah.
How can you do that? We need to go in agreement with common sense and money. It's possible, it's not possible, you know.
Well, I think the uncomfortable truth about my work is that as much as I might not like to feel this way, but I'm not essential. You're essential. No one can watch the game without me. Someone can watch the game without me saying it.
With only experiments, but without trying to
You're the bricks, I'm the wall. So the actual bricks and mortar of the house is built on you.
Fucking jump over the ball again!
It sounds somewhat self-sacrificial, but I agree with you. That's why I've never, I know some people have their own table.
And I always look after them. So you have that always. This week, yes, but this week maybe not.
Yeah, I might buy a fold-out table. So I'm going to end up with so I assume this is my field of movement, and then anything above that, this is a bonus.
And it won't affect much your comment.
No, you can still
deliver it.
Again, if you can work under the worst of circumstances, then that's fine. Everything from there is upside.
Yeah, I can stand or sit, and I guess when I sit, I'm less obstacle, because you can even be, if you're forced to stand behind me and see that, but I can stand too, but that doesn't matter. Anyway, I noticed actually in the last 10 years,
don't feel very sort of old and grumpy a lot of the time. So like on the case in point, if you catch a train, I would say, and so if that's the
On every station.
or I'll stay to this one a couple of days after and someone who was in the rush snuck behind me and cut me off to get me out. What's the rush? The door is
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Marconi Stallions, the Palace, for the 2026 Men's National Premier League. Round 26 fixtures, your mighty Marconi Stallions take on St George City. The Football New South Wales Men's National Premier League competition is proudly sponsored by MIDA, the official match ball of the NSW NPL. Attendees are reminded they are bound by the Football Australia's spectator code of behaviour, together with the terms of admission of this venue. Any breaches may result in disciplinary action and sanctions. Visit Club Marconi and experience the Piazza, your go-to destination for food and great company. The Piazza's state-of-the-art kitchen offers wood-fired pizzas straight from authentic Italian ovens, delicious pasta dishes and more. Perfect for a bite after tonight's game or your next outing. Whether it's a quick meal or a relaxed family outing, this
Test 1, 2. Hello. Hello and welcome to Marconi Stadium. Yes, it's all should be all good now. Hello, good afternoon and welcome to Marconi Stadium, Sunday afternoon football from the Palace.
very good. I like the fright of my life. The effects mic was very loud because it's in this input. What I forgot is last time I did a game, I had two callers, so that at least we were up. And I was using that. It's all good, it's all balanced out.
No, good. Not every
Oh, that it is switched on.
don't change anything.
It's all good. Yeah, maybe 4 or 5 minutes.
It's good.
Yeah, it's a really nice game. I've called most of the time here. One time they made me go in there, and I didn't enjoy it. That was during the championship in October.
It's enough space.
I know. Well, I don't know why. I don't think it's probably cameras up there. It was the championship semi-final where Marconi were playing a team from Queensland. But the problem was it was November, so it's summer, and that was incredibly hot. It was so hot. I don't call games in shorts.
That's kind of breeze. Like people.
Yeah, and the aircon is spurious rates of success. So, can I start with the FIFA anthem as well?
Ladies and gentlemen, the starting lineup for your home side, the Marconi Stallions, is as follows. Joe Wade, Tyrone Burney, Anton Norwich, skipper, Marko Jesic, Mate Busek, Jack Armson, and Quinton Blair. On the bench of this afternoon's clash for your Stallions, Cameron Windas, James Bayless, Julian Monge, Luca Pecora, Sunday Yona, Ahmad El Halou, and Aaron Hage. And now for the away team, St George City. Starting 1, Jack Kenny. Number 4, Solomon John Monahan Vaika. Number 8, Stefano Rosello. Number 9, Lucas Bedleg. Number 11, Ben Giason. Number 17, Nathan Tatapu. Number 20, Pep. Number 25, Roddy Boston. Number 33, Lewis Crew. Number 35, Spencer Webster. Number 47, Massam Sabar. Number 5, on the bench, Lewis Mikio. Number 6, Tariq Erdan. Number 10, Paolo Mitri. Number 13, Franklin Jan. Number 16, Ion Pedersen. Number 21, Malik Amin. Number 30, Gideon Rock. Ladies and gentlemen, please look at the officials of the away team, St. George City, and of course your home team here in the Palace, the Marconi Stallions.
5 games left to go in the NPL New South Wales season, and Sunday afternoon football at the Palace presents a particularly precious 3 points for two teams at the opposite end of the NPL New South Wales table. Yes, it may not look like much on paper, second against 14th, but when you consider the broader context, the say that this match could have in both the Premiership and relegation races when all's said and done in 2026. And this matchup between the Marconi Stallions and the visiting St. George City shaped as a very important one indeed. Great to have your company for it on a beautiful day of New South Wales weather. Marconi Stallions for the last 5 weeks until the last one have ruled the roost in Sydney's top tier, led the way in the Premiership race, but back-to-back losses mean that the Stallions have lost their grip on the Premiership and they've returned to winning ways, an absolute must as they look to keep in distance with the new ladder leaders Apia Leichhardt 2 points in their advance and in action against Sydney Olympic elsewhere today. It was an away trip, their first in 9 that undid them last week at the SD Raiders. Peter Sekenis hoping that a return to home comforts brings about a return to winning ways against a St. George City side for whom today is very important as well. An upset win against Sydney United last week means that an additional one today, back-to-back victories, could open up an 11-point gap between them and the bottom two, but securing their safety in season 2026. A failure to do that, and the trapdoor remains ajar for the likes of Sydney Olympic and St. George FC. So it is a meaningful matchup at opposite ends of the ladder. Referee Eric Sava brings us underway in the afternoon. Sunday sunshine in Sydney. Thanks for joining us if you are choosing to for a game that is of pressing importance ahead of the final month of the season for these two sides in their respective ambitions. It may not have been St. George City's goal at the start of the season just to secure survival, but right now it's a must. Well, at the start of the year it definitely was an A1 ambition here at the Palace for Marconi to lift regular season silverware, the premiership that has eluded them in their periods of recent strength in this top tier of the state. They have just let that grip slip after defeats to Sydney United and the SD Raiders, as mentioned last week. I'll be hoping that Sydney Olympic can do them a favour. They host Apia slightly later today, a 4 p.m. kickoff over there. It's a poor turnover for the former St. George City man, Franco Meyer, who nearly stole in to win that ball for the Stallions. And the good news for them is, despite that home loss to Sydney United a fortnight ago that ended a 8-game consecutive run here at the Palace, that was just their first loss in their last 16 here at their home ground. So it is reliable for turning them out a result, and we'll be hoping that that springs true to form today, because at best they can maintain their current gap, or at worst they maintain their I've got my own maths confused here. At worst, they could go 5 points away from Apia today. They could keep the gap to 2. Absolute best, they could find themselves back on top by the end of the evening, should Sydney Olympic manage to take something away from Apia Leichhardt, but that is a task easier said than done. Additional good news for Marconi is that they are meeting a side against whom their recent record is mostly fairly solid, particularly here at the Palace. Victory for Marconi from behind at Penshurst Park when they met earlier this year. Goals from Ten Quol and Jack Armson sealing the deal after former City player Jesse Foti's early opener. 3-1 winners they were at the Palace this time a year and a half ago, back in round 9. Delightful double from Damien Sekenis, either side of a missile from Anton Mlinaric. Oh, they would love a repeat of that sort of result today. If recent history is any indicator, it'll be very fascinating to see which team takes the lead in this fixture, because the last 3 head-to-head meetings, the team that's hit the front first has gone on to lose. Brody Clarkson for Solomon John Monaghan-Viker. Tyron Burney able to prod that out of danger. Been a big confidence lifter for Mikko Ural's men. An upset results last week against Sydney United, where their new signing, the Frenchman Lucas Bedleg, was the winning scorer. A result that arrested a run of 4 games without a win. On the hunt today for what would be just a second away win of the season, their first since the St George Derby back in the late days of May. It's been tough on the road for them this year. Just the 8 goals scored. They might have an opportunity here. Wade is able to just poke it past the waiting toes that were closing upon him from left and right. Bedleg and their other mid-season recruits in Bassam Sabah really taking it off the toes of the first season Marconi keeper. Sekenis. He loses out to Spencer Webster, 17-year-old who quite incredibly and quite impressively, it must be said, has broken into St George City's senior and starting fold of late. Tef. A drop for Jarson. Just couldn't feed the feet of Bedleg. Webster was scrapping. Curry closed in. Armson. It was Armson who was able to just lift the ball away. It is a tall task St George City will know that stands ahead of them today, because they don't need to win to secure safety today. Still plenty of rounds of the season left to go, but don't want to leave the door ajar for desperate battlers below. As they look to take a potential lead here, it's threaded through for Sabah. Well blocked. Nicely marshalled by Tyron Burney to snuff out what was otherwise looking a very menacing St. George City attack. Quality link-up play between Lucas Bedleg and Spencer Webster. It's a completely freshened front three from what would have started this season for Miko Ural. Two mid-season signings and a 17-year-old who was playing boys youth league under 18s at the start of the year. No Hiroto Damoto, Japanese winger in the matchday squad. Jorn Peterson sitting on the bench. Sabo is just going to allow for some medical attention to be delivered to Quinton Blair, just as he has been allowed to receive treatment. Marconi's number 23. Straight back up to his feet, so will be a pleasing sign at least for Peter Sakenis. So play will resume with Marconi momentarily man reduced. It really was just a moment. Blair straight back on to Tafu. He's been restored to the starting 11 today after a watch on roll as an unused sub last week. He's come in for the absent Ben Berry. Burney. The pressure pays for St. George. Solomon John Monahan Viker. Bedleg. Oh, what a finish that is! The Frenchman is catching fire in NPL New South Wales, and St. George City lead at the Palace. A piece of invention from one of St. George City's mid-season signings. And the side from the tail end of the table has thrown down the gauntlet to one of the teams, the Apex Predators in the Premiership race. There's another patch of really good play from St. George City, admittedly out of not a lot. Monahan Viker stealing in to take the ball off the boots of Burney. And it was so unconventional, the finish from Bedleg, but at the same time brilliantly inventive. Defenders left and right, really the left to right outside of the foot bend was the only way he was going to find the corner, and he did. And the only bad news for St. George City is that the last three teams to score first in this game have gone on to lose it. And they buck that trend for a first win here at the Palace in over 3 years. Even though he wasn't the head coach at the time, Miko Ural, in his season in absentia from St. George City, as Manny Spandidakis came in, will maybe have recollections of the meeting in round 9 last year. They took the lead through Fumoto Kamada. That was a similarly fantastically worked goal, only to offer back the impetus to Marconi all too easily, admittedly with the aid of a red card. Comes the free kick to Tafu, thought about launching, didn't. The shot from the edge of the box is blocked. Webster, he's looked really lively so far. That's lumped away by Blair. feats wrong that the visitors have put so far in this game from Lewis Curry. We're seeing the early signs of a late season surge from St George. Still very early doors here. We've not even played 15 minutes. A game that historically does tend to go at about 3 goals a game. Lenaric. These are in the early doors, but the concerning sign is that the Stallions have offered absolutely nothing in attack so far. Can't say that about St George. Monahan Viker feeding it wide to Bassam Sabah. It's a great sliding challenge to get in the way from Teng Kuol, and again, plenty of football still to be played. No reason for panic stations just yet, but it's only been brilliant defending that has denied St George City a few more looks. Goals in back-to-back games from Lucas Bedleg. They've got the visitors in a 1-0 lead again. Curry and Tef got in each other's way, and Eric Sabah draw play dead. Curry, the player who came off second best. Just the 11 appearances for Lewis Curry this season, a player who has called St George City home amongst a couple of international stints, including in both Belgium and Lebanon. Scored a couple of times against Marconi, including for St George City a few years ago. George Daniels stolen away with the football. Has given it away. Defended at the first instance by Mlinaric, but now there's gaps available to be attacked. Early ball in from Jarson. Bedleg was there, so to Sabah. Neither of them able to conspire to produce a meaningful threat to the nets of Joel Wade. It's all one-way traffic at the moment. Webster. Fancy footwork from the teenage talents. You have to wonder if the news of the day, which will see 5 fixtures from the top flight played today, 4 of them currently in action. This one, the one with the only goal so far. But you wonder if the news has reached Belmore Sports Ground, where the visitors RP Leichhardt know that a win, as things stand, could put them 5 points clear atop with 4 weeks to go. Cross in's a good one. Bedleg flick the neck muscles. And now Sabah. Knock back for the captain. Monahan Viker. Clarkson. Nice bender. Well watched by Joel Wade. Spencer Webster is fighting an uphill battle there. A lot of options forward of the football here for Mate Bosek. Daniel. Good courage and commitment from him. Jesic played a hot football backwards. Well won by Armstrong. A little bit scrappy, but Marconi able to keep the ball in their spell. Not done much more than that so far, though. A very uncharacteristic performance, this one so far. Just as last week was against SD Raiders. SD Raiders, who into a string of recent wins, are now charging towards the finals places. Admittedly sitting 8th now on the live ladder with Manly in action. This result would also make life interesting for Sydney United, because the premiership's still in play, but top 2 finish for finals, going straight through to the second week is also a valuable asset indeed. Meyer on the challenge of one St George City marker, but not a second. Webster, that's a poor pass. And Sekenis is not a man you want to play the ball to. And he very nearly showed you why, did Marconi's top scorer this season. Not to be another goal against St George City just yet. He'd love to hit the back of the net today, Damien Sekenis, in search of a 16th of the season. Just 2 in his last 9 games after starting the year like a house on fire. Daniel. The line for Mate Busek. Stallions in need of someone to take this game by the scruff. Bedleg. He's a player in confidence, clearly. For an effort like that. Very intriguing 20 minutes so far. Blair dancing around Curry. Really impressive from a midfielder who's been nothing short of it in his first season. Busek puts down the power. Jarson should have enough to have his opposite 11's measure, and indeed does. Jack Kenny, St George City keeper. A cannon of a goal kick on him. Let's see what this one can offer. It's not the best I've seen from him, but only because he sets a very high standard, the 22-year-old. Into his 4th season at St George City. So just 3 players remaining from the last City side to win here at Marconi. An unused sub that day, back on the 25th of February 2023. Goals from the Petratos brothers, Costa and Maki, either side of a goal from Marley Peterson, handing the visitors a 3-2 win. It was a very happy year in the top flight for the surging St George. The last couple of years have been a bit of a crash back to reality in the top flight. 9th place last year. They're going to be in a battle to better that this time around. Incredibly, that opener from Lucas Bedleg. Just their 9th away goal all year. Big up and under from Tang Kuol. Marconi players first to the fall of the ball. Busek's fast feet did enough to win the free kick, which is taken quickly. Sekenis. Did not make much of that at all, Marconi. Johnson's launch. Up but not away by Mlinaric. Well controlled by Sabah, who wriggles towards goal, and that one's off the post behind the goal. So out for a incoming St George City corner. Chance for the tall timber of Tef and Tatafu to make their presence felt. There is not a single side this year who have scored twice at Marconi Stadium. Goes short, Bedleg brings it under control. Curry's cross. Tef, it's a tantalizing one. Curry couldn't find the shooting angle. And the free kick conceded by the St George midfield dynamo. It's getting a little unsightly between Solomon John Monaghan-Viker and Damien Sekenis. St George City's captain will do well to remember that he was red-carded here on his last visit to the Palace back in 2024. A game in which City finished the match with 9. With 3 red cards in their last 2 visits. So going at a rate of 1 per trip to the Stallion Stadium since promotion. Sekenis doesn't have the beating of Monaghan-Viker that time around. Clever from Tenkwal. Pressure relieving pass back to Mlinaric. Can they find an opening in a St George City defence that has offered them nothing so far? Save for a sighter from Sekenis. That's a nice knockdown for Jesic. Bernie, plenty to aim at. Daniel Rose didn't get. Sekenis. Enough play for a goal kick. It is just not happening in the opening 25 minutes for the home side. Who have been, for the vast majority this year, so incredibly unflappable. They did only play 1 or 2 home games in the opening months of the season, and then on a 7-game tear that included 6 clean sheets here at home. St George City just the 6th team to score here at the Palace, not including Marconi, all year. Only one of those have won, and that was Sydney United most recently. There's another good goal in its own right from Mason Wells. Very different kind of finish from Bedleg, but still very impressive. Franco Maya. Bernie. In the shippest of shapes, it must be said, Marconi Stadium surface, at least, or especially by its lofty standards. I would say that might go some way to explaining why the Stallions have had trouble moving the football. But St George City have had no such issues. Stefano Rossello not able to keep that one alive. A fair chunk of time since Marconi have had to come from behind to win a game. Curry Bedleg, brilliant flick. Oh, this is wonderful from St George City. And Curry cannons his effort off the post. And could not put the finishing touch on a scintillating sequence from St George. Expletive you may have heard. Break out at the Palace from Lewis Curry. Clearest sign yet of just how big a moment that was. Marconi haven't had to come from behind to try and win a game, chiefly because much of their last 7 wins in the competition have all been unanswered, all clean sheets. In comes the corner, Bedleg again the targets. Sekenis prodding away, but the best he can do is buy time for the Stallions' defence. Haven't had a comeback win, Marconi, since the 2nd of May. Away to the Sutherland Sharks, where they were 2-0 down. A quick-fire double from Richard Shueki. Going on to win that one 4-2 with some fantastic goals from the likes of Franco Meyer. He's won the pick of the bunch that day. Bedleg. Monahan Viker. Strong header from Qual. In fact, he's going to get the free kick. All the talk of Marconi needing to mount a comeback win for the premiership maybe obfuscates the fact that it is, at present, St George City looking far more likely to extend their lead than they are to concede. It's been really impressive so far, Miko Ural's men. Very slick for a side who have so struggled for clean ball movements in front of goal. Scored the least goals of any side in this competition this year. That'll be, well, it looked to be easy pickings for Jack Kenny, but I think the sun in his eyes just sold the City keeper a fraction short. And one other goal to bring you across the rest of the 4 simultaneous fixtures across NPL New South Wales. Not far up the road from here. I'm surprised you couldn't hear the cheer as Sydney United took the lead against NWS Spirits. Getting currently at half-time. Franco Meyer looking to fashion something against his old side. He's felled, and play continues. Armson holding Monahan Viker. No whistle for either team, despite both of their fervent respective protestations. To say from this vantage point, it felt strong challenge, though it was, that it was a legal and ball-winning one from Jack Armson. Franco Meyer may be feeling slightly differently about the one that brought him to grounds. The upshot is that Marko Jesic, the Marconi captain, is prepping a long throw. Is that the difference maker for Marconi? And towards Mlinaric, who flicked it across, but couldn't find the waiting limbs of Damien Sekenis. Impressively won by Tatafu. Busek, who picks up in the second phase. Daniel. Armson not best pleased with the touch to receive his pass from Mate Busek. Jarson. And Sabah bring this down in the setting sun. He does. Monahan Viker. Reverse pass. The right idea, the wrong execution in the direction of Lucas Bedleg. Curry did really well. Bedleg wanted a run from Sabah that didn't arrive. He's done handily though. Curry, Bedleg, the bender, doesn't dip in time for the Frenchman to double his advantage. It is not the opening half hour the home side would have penciled in. Okay, Ural. His only lamentation from the action so far is that St George don't have more to show for their early ascendancy. Kenny heads clear. He's going to have to track back quickly, but the attempt to keep the ball alive for Marconi forwarded it easily to Tef. It was hot and heavy from Armson. A sign of the frustration that currently besets the Stallions. It's taken just 34.5 minutes for Jack Armson to become the first player of the afternoon into the book. Only 2 changes from last week for Marconi. Tim Quall and Mate Busek coming in place of James Bayliss and Cam Windus, both on the bench today. For a side who have only made 2 changes to their 11 and have, other than the return of James Bayliss, not really made a lot of change to this squad all year beyond outgoings. Looking very disjointed at the present moment. And the St George City outfit with 4 fresh faces from the start of the year in the 11 today. Including one from their junior ranks. Very smooth indeed. They have lost some of that early stage slipperiness. Still been able to keep Marconi quiet. Curry. Good leap from Webster. Couldn't do much more than try his best, which his teammates still appreciated. To Tafu. A lumper. Webster always going to be up against it in the face of Ting Qual, but his pressure enough to produce a throw for the visitors. Really is a great story. Spencer Webster as Bedleg couldn't take the ball in stride, and then Sabah hoping his first St George City goal could be a headline maker, but not quite. Spent last season in the Bulls Academy. And Bassam Sabah got the assist for Lucas Bedleg's match winner last week. Just his 6th game for the club. Daniel finds a way out, but it could be something as Sekenis launched away by Jack Kenny. Is a better example of the super boot he does have at his disposal. Brody Clarkson. And he always keeps things ticking for St George City when fit and available. Sabah. Monahan Viker. How good has his industry been on the left side of the St George back line? St George City a little overzealous in their attempts to go chasing the second ball. Former Manly man. Stefano Rossello, the player who infringed. Jesic. Instagram rather meekly. Mlinaric. Sekenis dropping very deep. Not activating the switch for Franco Meyer. These passes that would usually come off for Peter Sekenis' side so far today are not. Bernie. Work from Sabah. Tef. Heading all the way home as Marconi just turned the screws with a bit of forward press of their own. Qual. Monahan Viker. Need to get St George City moving quickly. Fluidity has been their strength so far today. Bedleg has been central to it. That time couldn't thread the needle for Webster. He's wriggled through here though. Webster, the 17-year-old, goes to ground. Big wave of the arms. And it'll be a goal kick at the end of all of that. Stefano Rossello unable to provide a convincing end point on the scramble. Hearty commitment though from the 17-year-old. The other players could have conceded that as a lost cause in the face of Anton Mlinaric, but he's managed to slip his way through. You can see why he's been fast-tracked from under 18s to under 20s to first grade in a very short space of time. Armson, a scooper. Jesic, great control. Is there a shot at the end of this for Marconi? There is. Well blocked to deny Jack Armson. Marco Jesic was trying his best to be the difference maker. The angle he had to shoot was always tricky, so he was always looking for a teammate, as he will be here. The big roost. Qual gets up. Tef heads away. Jarson will make it more of a sure thing. Take two for Jesic. Lumped clear by Tef. It'll stay a Marconi ball. Daniel wheeling around in search of an angle. Qual stayed forward, cuts it back for Armson. Who shot corkscrews well clear of any threats to the St George City net. Another sign that's particularly in a competition that this season, particularly in the mid-range of the table, has been so congested. It looks can be deceiving in NPL New South Wales. The team who started the weekend in 14th, St George City, come to the Palace. Played the Stallions so far largely off the park. Still only have just the one goal to show for it through Lucas Bedleg. Rossello. A lifter for Bedleg. The lead from Sabah was a smart one, but Curry not quick enough to meet it at the end. Doing some really intelligent things when they have the ball. Curry cross. Away by Qual. Bedleg with a second crack. Will it sit here for Sabah, who's trying to twist and turn? Put his ball back to Webster. A bit too far back. Monahan Viker. Deflection aids Armson. Yesic upended. Play allowed to continue by Eric Sabah. And still. Flights forward options on a couple of occasions in these forays, Marconi. This time they're throwing a few more forward. Bernie, fast feet to get around Monahan Viker. Really brilliant stuff. Bernie's ball in. The header at the back post is just wide. That's a great chance for Marconi. Their best movement of the match. Just could not produce the goal that they so desperately crave before the break. Just took a bit of imagination and fantasy on the flank from Tyron Burney. Quick little cricketer style 1-2 around Solomon John Monahan Viker. To get the ball right from there, he did. So Kennis will be disappointed. I fancy that Jack Kenny would have had it covered. Just it over the top for Webster. Found it in an offside position, the 17-year-old, who is also under 19 and 17 Philippines Youth International. Actually played against Australia not that long ago at the ASEAN Boys Under 19 Youth Championships. Special memories of it due to the significance of its dual heritage. Won't have special memories of the result. It was a 10-0 win for Australia. Melbourne City's Medin Mehmeti scoring 5. 2 minutes of added time supplanted onto this game by Tom Selden. Time enough for Marconi to find a potential equaliser, as they did on St George's last trip to the Palace in round 9 of last year. Fernando Kamada had them in front. Nathan Roberts was silly sent off for a headbutt on James Hilton. Damien Sekenis got Marconi a platform upon which to go on with it in the second 45. And Viker blocked en route by Armson. Yesterday going to prove to be a momentous one in the Premiership battle. Monahan Viker looking for Bedleg. Anaric with verticality. Tef wriggling away, and fortune favours Webster. The teenager goes to ground. Big wave of the arms from Eric Sabah. I have to say that's a fair call. Tenquol just held his ground. That was close.
And that's half time in this first.
The ball comes flying towards the top of the commentary tower here. A slightly frightening way to end a frightening first 45 for the Marconi Stallions. It is St George City, the side sitting in 14th on the table, who lead the Premiership hopefuls after 45 minutes played at the Palace, and they deserve it in truth. Some very swift and slippery moves in possession from Mirko Ural's men, capitalised upon by Lucas Bedleg with a second goal in his many games after 13 minutes. The visiting side on their way for a potentially headline-making results here at the Palace. Marconi have had a couple of chances to equalise, but have been well short of their best. If they are going to win the Premiership, both of those things will need to change. Stick around, it is a big second 45 to come on the other side of the break with a halftime score. St George City 1, Marconi Stallions 0.
That is all St George's bench.
Yeah. That is as close as I've ever been taken out. That ball, it went just over the roof.
Every week, hundreds of thousands of people turn up around football grounds around New South Wales. Parents, kids, refs, coaches and volunteers. Cardiac incidents can happen to anyone at any time on the pitch.
Right now, not every club has a defibrillator.
And the ones that do are not always maintained or ready to use. In a critical moment, with a defib, that could save lives. That's why Football New South Wales, St John Ambulance and Toyota have come together for Every Beat Matters to help clubs around New South Wales to access defibrillators, cover maintenance and build a register so we know exactly where every unit is around the state. All you need to do is buy a ticket through Raffletix. $5 can make a difference. Every ticket goes towards funding defibrillators and maintenance for clubs that need it most. A live fundraising board shows exactly how much is being raised. And every ticket you buy puts you in the draw to win a Toyota Corolla. One ticket, real impact. Help your club be ready when it matters. So buy your ticket today.
A commanding punch. O'Driscoll's touch for Chipman. And the ball's good. O'Driscoll lays it off for Burgess. And the deflection takes it in. Set piece not dealt with. And Manly United draw first blood on Friday night. With de Robillard. And Ono, who's always an attacking outlet from left full-back. He goes for goal himself. Not dealt with by Curto. And tapped in by Coop. And Manly are now full of confidence. Evans down the right. Coop there again! 2 in 2 minutes! They're still providing enough going forward to really look an attacking threat. De Robillard on the ball. Looking for goal himself. And it's going to be tucked in by Holm.
First time ball trying to pick up Meyer. Figueira hit it straight into him. Can he get it past him? Franco Meyer. That is an exceptional finish. Good ball in, and the header from Kenesi. What a finish. Risky pass there, almost getting a foot was through for Aramugo. They've done it. Robert Aramugo.
Pavlovich. Katrip's got a little bit of space here. Mustafi watching, waiting for the right time to approach. And now he engages. Katrip with a burning bit of pace. And it's a great goal for the Wanderers. Awan Lawal stoops in to head home. But first, this free kick. Anderson back. Hangs it up. And the header is in from Morrison. 2 for the Wanderers. And coming in to pick the pocket cleverly. That's well done by Chetinic. Pavlovich returns it to Chetinic. It is 3 for the Wanderers. Deliberate. Here's Petratos, all given away by Armson. Pearson Kasawaya breaking forward. He feeds it through Awan Lawal. Only one outcome when Awan Lawal has the ball in that territory, and it's 4 for...
Out to Michael Cooter, and Rory Jordan's off and gone down the outside on that left-hand side as he's tracked across by Lockie Campbell. Looks to hold him up. Rory Jordan, well, 33 seconds in. They transitioned like lightning down the left there. Mount one more raid on the NSW defence, and it gets a deflection on the way through. And I think you'll find Presley Ortiz, as he looks to make it 3 for Apia. Presley Ortiz, he doesn't make mistakes from there. Presley Ortiz gets number 2 of the night. Falls short there, and he's onside. Presley Ortiz as he skips towards the 18-yard box, tracked by Campbell. 1v1, Tristan Prendergast. Presley Ortiz gets his hat trick. The attacking players in teams that get all the kudos, and they look to pinch one back now. Union NSW.
Webster, wide for Saba. Towards the line he goes, takes on McGing, works it in. There's bodies there! There's a goal to St George City! There's the opener on 48 minutes!
You feel as though Sutherland really aren't controlling the midfield at the moment as Najjar breaks forward. Tamulkovsky puts it past Nizic. Interesting starting position of Tariq Maya on the edge of the area. Olsen steps up. And Olsen strikes it down the middle. Sutherland are level. There it goes. Cuts it back. Olsen arriving. Olsen buries it bottom corner. Some finish from Nick Olsen. Arriving late to the scene. Jordi Perez now to seal it. 3-on-1. Perez has Olsen to his left. Olsen for the hat-trick. And the win. Sutherland make it 3-1.
Fujita, Luke Quall gets a touch, and now Major can look to play it forwards. That's an excellent ball. And a chance to shoot Kunyul. It's gone through the goalkeeper, and it's an early lead. Malia. Dipped onto the crossbar. Quall with the header, and it bounces in. They have a second goal. Blacktown City, and they are
Welcome back to Marconi Stadium for a second 45 in NPL New South Wales that could be a very big one indeed in the context of the premiership race, because St George City currently have a 1-0 lead against the Marconi Stallions. A result that could mean, were it to hold, that Apia, who are currently in action against Sydney Olympic at Belmore Sports Ground, could go 5 points clear at the top of the table with a month left of football to go. And St George City could all but secure their safety in season 2026 and their status for 2027 with 3 points. And they've got a chance here to double their money maybe, but Bedleg, who is the goal scorer from the first half, is in an offside position. I can tell you that Marconi have made a half-time change as they look to go chasing in a game that they, really, regardless of the results at Apia, must win. Things have got a bit unsightly here between a combination of Jarson and Tatafu against Marko Jesic. Jarson and Jesic, the two competing parties. Those two got in a bit of a tangle on the sideline, and there were words exchanged, venomous ones at that. Is that maybe Marko Jesic? Was it a sign of frustration, or is it a sign of his intent to try and fire up his team, who need a lift? It wasn't a St George City lead against the flow. It was one that they, on footballing merit, thoroughly deserved. And a big second half headache for Peter Sekenis' side to try and alleviate. Launched in by Jesic. It will go out for a Marconi corner. I'd love to get that goal back early. St George City hunting a 3 points that would put them 11th or 11 points away from 15th spot on the table, with 12 points on offer in the remainder of the season. They would be all but safe from St George FC and Sydney Olympic below. Jesic's delivery. Franco Maya doesn't quite catch it as we know he can, and then Blair is blocked. And the counter could be on for St George City. The Stallions streaming back as Sabah is robbed of the ball. Franco Maya pick up the free kick. An energetic start from the Stallions, who did have a couple of chances to equalise. Only minor openings, no red alerts for the goal of Jack Kenny, both of them through Damien Sekenis. Teftef will guide that back to his goalkeeper. Sekenis with a header wide of goal in the final couple of minutes of the first half, but the truth of the matter is that St George City created better chances to go 2-0 clear, hitting the post through Lewis Khoury with a shot from the edge of the penalty area than Coney did to equalise. On the live ladder, it's a 3-point gap between Apia atop the table and Marconi in second. What this would also do, again, if the results were to hold and Apia still goalless after 10 minutes played at Belmore, would open the door back up to Sydney United, who are currently 2-0 to the good. Just 10 minutes up the road at Adenza Park. Home to NWS Spirit. So we've got 5 games all underway at the same time in NPL New South Wales. A veritable footballing feast for the Sunday. To be Sunday scaries for the Stallions. Sunday Yona chasing that one. He's on to the field for a, incredibly, 21st substitute appearance of the season. From 21 appearances for the season. He has not had a single start this year, Sunday Yona. This is by far the most minutes he's gotten in a game, though. As Jesic tries to bring that one down. He brings himself down. Eric Saba unmoved. So prior to today, Sunday Yona had not come on any earlier than the 69th minute. So he's got an entire half of football to press his case as he's come on in place of Mate Busek. It's a fifth long throw of the day, this, for Marko Jesic. To find their first goal of the game. Left clear by Tatafu. Jesic with foot this time, left by Mlinaric. And Qual couldn't bring it down to the aid of Sunday Yona. Dead leg poked it forward, but unfortunately a half-hearted chase from Spencer Webster, who just timed his run wrong and knew that the offside flag was but some moments away. 17-year-old Webster has been as industrious as he has been impressive so far in this game. Just the fourth appearance. He made his debut back in that 3-3 thriller against the Wolves. Sekenis, deflected cross, a corner coming for Marconi, who have done well to take the bull by the horns in their quest to complete a comeback victory for the first time since May. Hoping to avoid a third loss on the spin. What an incredible stat to bring to you about that shortly, but for now we await this Marconi corner. Well shaped, and the Risers putting product goalwards because it was St George City. Joe Solomon, John Monahan, Viker able to head clear. Meyer once more, that looks more like it, off the crossbar, and Mlinaric can't stab it towards goal. A infraction spotted by Eric Saba in the build-up. That will be worth a replay. Of course, if you're watching at home on NPL New South Wales YouTube, you can scrub back and watch it for yourself. To just clip the crossbar from Franco Meyer. He scored some magnificent goals of late here at the Palace. He's done it over 3 seasons at Marconi, but in recent weeks, one against St George FC not long ago. Curry. Clever pass to provide a bit of open pasture to Monahan Viker. Well defended though, and he has steamed in on Franco Meyer. It's a bit of a double whammy for Marconi. One, because they feel like a card could have been coming the way of Monahan Viker and never did. Secondly, because it looked from that long ball that Damien Sekenis was going to be set on his way towards goal. Maybe a deep set piece offers the Stallions something. Qual's launch. Tafu was towering. Daniel asking a lot of the pace of Sunday Yona. He's nearly up to the task. Washed away by Jas in the mid-season signing from Sydney Olympic. Transition he'll be feeling pretty good about as things stand. Because at the tail end of the table, I mentioned that 11-point margin between St George City and the bottom two. It would be a margin that would all but guarantee that Sydney Olympic would be 12 points back as Daniel has a crack. Curry couldn't clear lines and Saketis fancy just barged his way in from an offside position. Just to go back on that earlier point, it would be an 11-point gap between St George City and their crosstown rival St George FC. But if Sydney Olympic were to lose today, a 12-point gap between them and St George. Blacktown won as well. That would all but guarantee, barring a miraculous goal difference swing, Sydney Olympic currently sitting on 29 goals conceded. Or 29, negative 29 goal difference, I should say. They've conceded a fair few more than that, unfortunately. Be guaranteed, basically, either the automatic relegation spot or a pro-rel playoff. Jesic, clever flick. Armson couldn't quite do the same. Tatafu has to take satisfaction from just conceding a corner. Slim consolation. Goals in every game now. Across the 5 fixtures, Apia have just taken the lead against Sydney Olympic. Bad news for Marconi. Apia have just gone 5 points clear in the premiership race. That needs to change. Lenaric, the loose man at the back post, but his best header. The sun in eyes. Not an unassailable lead. All things to end as they are currently. 5 points when there's only 12 left to pick up potentially in the final month of the season. Makes life very hard. And this obviously would like the championship. They will play in the Australian Championship, the runners-up Marconi, but the premiership is the one they really want. The one that's passed them by year after year despite being in the conversation. Awkward between Paul and Bernie. Saba wheels away with it. Another good passing decision that opens up space. Curry. Monahan Viker. Second goal for St George would make things really interesting. They've lacked the cut and thrust of the opening 45 minutes of the previous half. Marconi, for all their possession and pressure, have not exactly battered down the door as yet. St George looking to become just the last team to score double digits on the road this season. Jesic heads away. Sabah, but short in his efforts to recycle. And Sunday Yona battled hard and won it well. Tried to flick it forward to Bernie, but he's cooked that one. Sunday Yona. Not the impact that Peter Sakenis will be wanting at all from the live wire winger. Lenaric. No whistle from Eric Saba. Deadleg getting their head down. Qual will get there rather comfortably in the end. 15 minutes have ticked by relatively quickly. The Palace, St George City still leading, as they have done since the 13th minute through Lucas Bedleg, a Frenchman who's scored in back-to-back games since signing from the American college system in mid-season. He's the target of the throw. And then Clarkson got a bit behind that. Tef. Curry. And the launch was on, but no one was really home to do anything with it. Peter Sekenis is going to make a second substitution.
The substitution for the Stallions,
the afternoon.
James Bayless.
He's going to be bringing on some proven Marconi quality in James Bayless, who replaces Jack Armstrong. Bayless, of course, recently returned to Marconi for a third season after spending this year playing in the OFC Pro League with Auckland SC, winning the OFC Pro League as well. Did score here at the Palace on his return in a Stallion shirt. Quite keen to repeat the feat this afternoon. Marconi currently stare down the barrel of a third game winless for the first time since June last year. Such is the quality of their consistency, Marconi, since returning to the top flight at the tail end of the 2010s. They have not lost 3 consecutive games since 2019. That's how long it's been since the Stallions have stared down the fate currently in front of them, as Bernie tries to turn those fortunes with a bang, but couldn't. Has scored from that range in style against Apia last season. To be that time for him. Curry. Away from him by Blair. And the cut off Ben Jarson. May 2019, the last time Marconi lost 3 games on the spin. 4-game losing run, that one. Ended with a win against Rocktail. Great throw. Something going to open up here. Curry. Monahan Viker. Held it up well. Curry's cross. And in position to extract anything tangible from it. Sunday Yona. Just put the power down, but overpowered his pass to Sekenis. Yona. Haven't seen the best of the substitute so far. We don't see it there either. Frustrating there for Peter Sekenis. There's not a lot of obvious options to turn to, as Josic will happily take that as a Marconi corner. And El Halou. Julian Mond, really the only attack-minded players available that haven't already been turned to. Luka Pecora, Kim Windust. Also in reserve as well of the outfielders. Bayless's ball for all the waiting heads. Glenarich recycles well. Blair, nearly through the legs of Kenny, who just was able to grab it before it squeaked its way through. Quinton Blair still waiting for that first goal in Marconi colours in NPL New South Wales. Quite a signing from the American college system. For the SLU Billikens. Stints in the USL as well. Sunday Yona gets the head down. It's an awkward deflection. Daniel. Bent away by Rossello. Maya. Need some magic from someone like him. Bernie fizzes it in. Yesic was lurking. Kenny was courageous and smothered it up. It's been a critique you can level at Marconi over the years. Yeah, relative to the strength of their defence, the attack can lack a bit of teeth. That hasn't been the case this year. Baylor's hoping to change that today. Doesn't even get the whistle that he wanted. 46 goals. Marconi have scored this season, a tally that only the ladder leaders Apia Leichhardt and incredibly the ninth place Western Sydney Wanderers can better. It's not been such a pain point for them this year, but today the going has been tough. The lifter, bed leg, can he get the shot away? He does, and Wade is able to gather. It hung in the air, tantalising from Webster's delivery. Bedleg, who's been a slightly more periphery figure in this second 45, still able to muster a half meaningful chance for this Marconi side, who have only failed to score 4 times this year. Marconi do every side who have gone behind in this game. Its last 3 meetings do and come from behind to win. Sekenis! Oh, did Kenny get a paw on that? Yes, is the answer. That's the kind of invention and inspiration of which Marconi are in dire need. Just lacked a bit of purchase, unfortunately, from Damien Sekenis. Been a spectacular 16th of the season. Kenny is to concede from this corner. He'll be frustrated. Sent in by Maya. And again, St George City, who are a vertically gifted team, able to get it away. Yesic fakes the short run. Bayless takes. Kenny doesn't get. It bounces over the head of Quall, out for a goal kick. So the 7th corner of the day, a rather fruitless one for Marconi.
Substitution for St George City, number 6, Tariq Erkan replaces number 8, Stefano.
He's going to turn to the bench for the first time this afternoon. Stefano Rossello is the player whose race is run. And onto the field. He's going to arrive Tariq Erkan, who has refused the captain's armband from Solomon John Monaghan Viker, maybe just not wanting to waste time, but he is usually the captain when he does start. Erkan, who is one of just 3 St George City players left from the last City side to win here at Marconi Stadium back in February 2023. He was the only starter left. Jack Kenny, an unused sub. Paulo Mitri, currently an unused sub, came off the bench. He's gone straight back into the centre of defence as well. So a suggestion perhaps that St
George
City are setting themselves to defend a 1-0 lead. It's a slightly surprising change that from Peter Sekenis. Franco Maya and his mercurial talent vacate the field in place of Luca Pecora. He makes a rare appearance in this second half of the season. Daniel loses out to the 17-year-old, but Norwich provided the cool head and got it moving quickly for Jesic. The ball falls for Bernie. Pecora. Bayless. Great block. In the centre of the park. That's a good cross. Erkan up but not away. Tef. He does clear. And another roost from Jarson. Is that going to provide a long throw for Marko Jesic? It looks like it will. It's been closing in on double digits with these, Jesic. Flicked on by Minaric, but Eric Sabah has spotted something that he didn't like in the build-up to it all. Here's the 2nd of August. Going to be a day upon which the tectonic plates of the Premiership race shift significantly. Have Marconi got the wherewithal to turn this around from 1-0 down, or is it going to be back-to-back wins for St George City? Pecora on the march. Kenny was agile and precise. Bayless. Comfortable for Kenny. And it has, largely today, been pretty easy for the St George keeper. Hoping for an 8th team clean sheet of the season today. It's the team who almost always score. And have almost always scored in their 7 prior meetings with today's opponents. Bedleg. What a ball! And Monaghan Viker is just a hair offside. It was a nervy moment for the Marconi defence, who were hoping that that flag did raise.
Substitution for St George City. Number 21, Malik Amin replaces number 35, Spencer Webster. And number 16, Jon Pedersen replaces number 9, Lucas Bedleg.
Double sub, as you can hear over the PA system, for St George City. Nico Ural just refreshing his attack. A very well-earned rest for both Spencer Webster and Lucas Bedleg, whose goal is on course to be his 2nd match winner in as many weeks. The Japanese striker Jon Pedersen, City's top scorer this season with 5. He's come on alongside another one of their mid-season acquisitions, actually from Marconi's youth ranks. Number 21 has just gone down there in Malik Amin. There is Amin, trying to link up with Peterson. Daniel. Clarkson left something in. Has really incited the ire of Damien Sekenis. It is a game that has had a bit of bruise and bite. Though having said that, Brody Clarkson is going to be just the second player into Eric Saba's book today. He's the former Sutherland Shark who is such a reliable operator when fit and available for St George City. Spent a vast majority of the season from February to April out with injury. He's played all but 14 minutes since making his return, which was actually against Marconi on the 18th of April. Sands of time are seriously starting to work against the Stallions. An equalising goal will help, but really isn't enough. And their leader and stalwarts won't be there for the final chase. Marco Jesic off. Ahmad El Helou. This is an acquisition from the Mariners, his replacement. Wade punches the ball into the penalty area. Tatafu away for the umpteenth time. So Kennis was winding up but couldn't because of the coverage in the way. Kuri, clever touch to get away from Daniel. And a very decent pass inside. Peterson, back to Kuri. This would be a result to savour for St George City. Left over the top, Sabah giving chase. Just an 8th win of the year for Mirko Ural's men. Which were they to secure it, quite incredibly, would mean that half of all of St George City's wins this year have come against the top 4. They have taken points from Sydney United, Apia, Sutherland and Marconi if this holds. Beaten all 4 of the top 4. So it's not as though the warning signs of how difficult a task St George City could throw up today weren't there. For Peter Sekenis. Peterson and Sue Monahan-Viker in the corner. Nichols away from a couple. And wins a corner. Reward for persistent effort from Monahan-Viker. So far, the Stallions have huffed and puffed, but St George City have offered a pretty stern resistance for their 1-0 lead. Side hunting first back-to-back wins of the season against the side hoping to avoid 3 losses in a row for the first time in 7 years. Kuri's miscue. Fought back fairly cheaply by Mlinaric. Sabah's switch will be cut out by Sekenis. Tef has tumbled. And Eric Sabah whistles in the St George City centre-back's favour. 2-0 it is now for Apia against Sydney Olympic. So Marconi now, you would have to imagine, albeit with that game only 38 minutes in its infancy, playing to keep ground rather than make it up. Erkan. That's no nonsense. Clearance under very limited pressure. City will look to put the squeeze on their opponents in the corner, but there'll be a little tell as to where the mentality is at for the visitors. El Helu breaks away. Well judged by Bassam Saba. Only member of the starting front three still out there for St George. Saba's won it back again. Peterson and Amin. The desired contacts. Only spent half the season here at the Palace. In 2026, the 19-year-old Malik Amin didn't make a senior appearance, just an under-20s player. He was at Sydney FC and the Wanderers before that, a Maltese youth international who actually played at the under-19 Euros last year. Clarkson side-footed forward. Peterson tried his best. The Stallions got the gears to find something here. St George are trying to pick them off with a second that you have to imagine on today's evidence would seal it. That's over the head of El Helu. The aerial route is going to be difficult for the Stallions with the towering presence of Teftef, Erkan and Tatafu. Tef, Tarek and Tatafu. It's a triple alliterative back line that is proving very tricky to breach. Bayless. Marconi must find something here. They went there. Pecora could only hustle and bustle against the back of Teftef. Seven minutes to go plus stoppage. This is a really pivotal period upcoming for the Marconi Stallions. Screw away by Qual. Jarson. Amin. We'll pick it up again. Amin. He's eager to make a statement on his return to Marconi Stadium. Nicely worked by Monahan Viker. Curry. Peterson with a lone hand up top. Ball stayed in play. Lenarich's head was turned. Curry's gone to ground. And play still continues. Peterson. Pecora sets the task for Sekenis. That touch is going to leave him too much work. And everything is continuing to come up St George City. Consolation, scant though it may be, for Marconi is that it is on paper 4 winnable games that await for them to try and keep the premiership dream alive. Away to Manly United next week. Well, I'd say 4 winnable games. The week after that, slightly less so. They will host the Sutherland Sharks before rounding out the season with Sydney Olympic and NWS Spirit. They're going to turn this one around. They are leaving their run late. Anywhere will do at this point for St George City's defence. Monahan Viker, he's been up there with best on ground today. Bernie totally at 6s and 7s with El Helou. In his effort to get things moving quickly as Marconi go chasing, has thrown it straight out for a goal kick. Marconi are going to snatch this one. They're going to need to show something far different from what they have done in the 87 minutes that have transpired. St George City edging closer to back-to-back 1-0 wins against 2 of the top 3. And they're on track to be RP's best mates. Got some hammer blows in the premiership race, albeit to atone for having beaten up here earlier this season as well. There's some good stuff to build on for St George City as they set to close on to the cusp of securing their top flight status for next season. Brody Clarkson hoists into the setting sun. It's going to need to be a late performance of Premiers. If they want to have that door remain ajar for them, Marconi. It's all been a bit too pedestrian and easy so far for their opponents in defence. Peterson has had a George Daniel. Has to set Sunday Yona away. Justin, in fairness, has defended him for the most part very well. Sekenis, it's to Blair. This is a better build from Marconi. Sekenis, Yona, Tafu able to tow it out for a Stallions corner. More than justified his reintroduction into the 11 today, Mason Tatafu. Must be close to double-digit clearance numbers. Can stand tall here again. Bayless's ball. Flick to Bernie. Peterson. Violent bounce. It's going to break for the substitutes. I mean, it's going to go for it as well. And the fervent feedback from both bench and teammate is pretty strong there. Malik Amin. Curry over the shoulder. Second would absolutely kill it as there is just 4 minutes of stoppage time left, added on by Tom Selden. St George City are nearly there. 4 minutes away from claiming the scalp of every side in the top 4 this season. back-to-back wins for the first time this year. Status basically secured in NPL New South Wales for 2027. Stallions, is it to be another stumble in their premiership push? That's a decent ball. But Kenny crashed through. He's collected a bit of his teammate in Tarek Erkan. Marconi will be keen to ensure that this additional stoppage is added on to by Eric Saba, or kept in mind. He consults the watch in stoppage. He would not have been happy with it at kickoff, Marconi, but at this point, even a point would be precious. Kenny's gone to ground, collecting the contact of Sekenis. It was all rather theatrical. Marconi best pleased with some of the gamesmanship they have seen. Quoll collected. And will be left for basically everyone to head into the box. So for a handful, Bayless with the lifter. Jarson heads clear. Roosted away from danger by Curry. That will do for St George City. Every moment like that takes them closer. To a great win. Puts the Stallions on a very nervy brink. Quoll. Now or never for the Stallions. Sean Mason to Tafu where to head. Still going is Quoll. Sunday Iona. Quoll. They need a shot. They need something. Will it slip through there for Pecora? It's past his toes. There cannot be long left now. Ural will chew up some extra seconds with the return of Luis Michio for the first time since the 5th of July. Places the ever hard-working today Bassam Sabah. How much time is Michio actually going to see out? I just heard that call through the effects mic from Eric Saba. 90 seconds left to go. So the Stallions, you would imagine, playing to salvage a point. St George City nearly home and hosed. Michio will they head for the corner. Amin is the target, but it rolls for a to be very swiftly taken goal kick from Joel Wade. Final roll of the dice for the Stallions, and that rather sums it up from Daniel. The pass well short. Team that so far today has been exactly that. Blair flips the field for Bernie. Daniel. Blair. Mlinaric away by Erkan. Still Mlinaric trying to tussle for the ball. Bernie. Another push. A great ball, but Kenny watches it all the way. And that will do it. It's a special win at the Palace for St George City.
And that's full time.
And a tectonic shift in the Premier's race. Go goes down on Sunday afternoon at Marconi Stadium. St George City win at the Palace for the first time in 3 years. Back-to-back victories for the first time in season 2026. Status all but secured for season 2027. And Lucas Bedleck's second match-winning goal in as many weeks is a valuable one in more ways than one. Marconi, after finding themselves behind in the 13th minute mark, huffed and puffed, took the control of the second half proceedings, but did not create enough to turn a 1-0 deficit into 1 point, let alone 3. And they are on course to find themselves 5 points adrift of RPL Leichhardt with 4 games left to go in the season. Is this the day the Premiership race wrote its final chapter? That is to be decided over the 4 weeks that remain. We hope you've enjoyed the action that's greeted us here at Marconi Stadium today. St George City ending victors for the second time in as many weeks. Another massive scalp to savour on their Sunday. From myself, Lockie Flanagan, and from the production crew, it's goodbye for now. Until next week, we sign off from Marconi Stadium, where the full-time score was Marconi Stallions 0, St George City 1.